You know exactly what time it is. Need for Speed 2019. We're talking about it once more, but this time focusing on the map and location. If you haven't been following us, there's been a series of content basically going through what I want to see, what I want to change, and what you guys want to change in Need for Speed to make it great again. Yeah! Maps and location may seem like a small thing in the big scheme of customization and the car list and all this other little bits here and there, but I have you know, my friends, map is very important. In fact, if it is a good map, it'll keep you coming back and keep you remembering places. You will get to a point of playing where if you imagine a landmark, you know which way to go without even thinking. That's what I've been like on GTA, and that's what I've never done on a Need for Speed game. We're doing this one a little bit differently and playing the game live to talk about the area as we go around. And now, I've got to say, one of my favorite areas of this game is this first bit of city. There's a bit of an issue with it, which I'll talk about in a moment, but for the most part, it is a city. We don't normally get cities in racing games anymore. For some reason, they seem to think we want to all do is just drive around long, sweeping roads. But no, my friends, city driving, especially in a street racing game, is something that's just needed to be done properly. The problem with this city is it's not very big. This is basically the extent of the city, and it is, in my opinion, the best put together piece of map. When it comes to the rest of it, it's a little bit different. There's going to be something recurring across this game and Need for Speed Payback that is a major issue with not just the location, but how it's laid out as such. We've got some pretty good areas. This mountain area is obviously good for the drifting. This area here is kind of another little city. It's honestly one of the most useless parts of the city. This is more the industrial district, which is actually a lot of fun, but still not greatly put together. This area, again, is another extension of the city. You'll see a recurring theme here. They've split the city up into basically 3 sections in terms of the actual livable area in this world, which is fine. In my mind, I would rather have one larger city, which is what they did in Payback, but they sinned in that location a few reasons too, which again, we'll get into. The roads around here, the motorways, although are vital for linking the map together, possibly the worst thing they have done with this map. Again, it has so many areas in the city that are just fun like that. Driving on a railroad, although it sounds mundane, it's actually really nice to have because it varies it up a little bit. We've got these dockyards over here. Everything is kind of crammed into the first part of the city, every bit of coolness. One of the main sins about Need for Speed's map design is this. I'm driving down the highway. There's a useless pull-off there. For some reason, if I have a look, I can drive off and I can drive back on. And I've crashed. I forgot. I can't pause this game. Still driving to get to the next place. Still driving to get to the next place. It's just dreary. There's nothing to look at. There's trees on the side of the road and more highway. Don't get me wrong. Highways are great and all, but if we look at Forza Horizon 4's map, for example, there is a highway, but it's embedded properly onto the map in the middle as to where you can pull off at any point, and there's something new to find. Don't get me wrong, I'm not calling Forza's maps perfect either, but this is just unaccurate. Forza wouldn't do this, and there's a reason they wouldn't do this. It's because it's just stupid. In fact, I think they did somewhat do it with the Horizon before that. If you played Horizon 3, there was a long desert road that was just really boring to drive along, and they reverted from that and they fixed it and they solved it for the next game. But again, I'm still driving down this road with no possibility of really pulling me off. There's no reason to turn off this road. I can't go under here, for example. That's a different section of road. It's just lame. What am I doing here? And then this road curves all the way around here with absolutely no points of interest whatsoever. This whole area of the map. Get rid of it. It's a very good map. In fact, I think there's a lot of cooler areas to explore than there is in Payback, which Payback did improve on some things, but took steps backwards on others. So what I thought we would do now is kind of piece together the perfect alternative map for Need for Speed 2015. All right, so first up, what we're going to do is get a picture of the map. The best picture I can find is probably this one. Oh yeah, that's a very large one. My intent with this is not to create the best map you've ever seen in your life, but to improve it in a way that Ghost should have done in a more professional way. And the first thing I want to do is get rid of this. Get rid of this and this. All those are ridiculously useless areas that just they shouldn't exist. And ultimately, one of the things I'd really want to do is make the city a little bit more together. So first things first, I've cut away this section here and I've moved it a little bit closer. And again, the intent is not to look perfect in any way. Essentially, we'd want to connect as many ways to get onto this road as possible. Let's make a cool twisty road here, for example, just for the sake of it. So with a few minutes of work, you can already see the map is coming together much better, and that just looks like a much cooler place to explore. Yeah, this is a really basic Photoshop, but you can see that if I'm driving along the highway, I have reasons to pull off in multiple areas. There would be multiple points of interest in each location, varying areas. There's very cool areas in the game, as I've said. But the fact that I have to drive a whole year to get there makes me not want to bother exploring and wait till I get there at some point and then maybe try it and back to the original. But you can see how having to travel across this just makes it separate. It distances it a little bit. And to have all these different sections split up, like this area is pretty well done. In general, in total, if there were a few more roads linking bits together, and if this was shrugged up closer. Answer me this. How many times have you been to this area? Can you remember this area? Probably, because I remember one event. I remember one event coming through here. And it was an event that was on speed lists, and that's the only reason I actually remember it. I can't figure my way around this area in the slightest because of the fact they never asked me to do so. Now, here's a nice little alleyway off the beaten path kind of thing, and this is something I want to pick back up on when we switch over to, I would say, probably the bigger sinner, which is Need for Speed Payback. Okay, where do we begin with this map? Let's start with an area that I think most people will recognize quite a lot. If you were here in the original Payback days, this area is somewhere quite familiar. That's right, it's the random casino that we spawned at for no apparent reason whatsoever. It was a kind of a cool spawning place, to be completely fair. It gave you access to the city. Oh, there's a lot of stuff. It gave you access to the city, which, as you can see, is instantly much better put together. It has so many different connections. This area right here, obviously, is the residential. You've got the more downtown area. You've got the random racetrack that we use, the airport. It's got pretty much what you would want. And one thing that this city doesn't really have much of, even though it was still somewhat trying to go for the undergroundy street racing, illegal racer vibe, is much kind of nitty-gritty areas. Most of the time, if you are in the city, which is very little, you're driving around this downtown area with no shortcuts, with no ways to get off the beaten track. There's an alleyway there that would have been super cool to evade the police down, but obviously there's no free roam police anyway, so maybe that's why they decided to remove them. All the cool areas are blocked off. This could have been cool behind there. I want to get in these little areas. Over here, is there any way for me to... No? Again, how fun would it have been to drive through there just for the fun of it? Multi-story car parks, alleyways, shops, ramps that are not ramps, they're knocked over signs. The city is decent, but I would have taken a smaller city to have more of those side passages everywhere. Let me drive through the burger place. What is the burger place called? Star. Do you know what it feels like? I don't know how many of you know much about the GTA San Andreas development, but very clearly, I don't know what I just did there. Very clearly, as you go through that game, the first place that you start, there's a lot of money thrown into the textures and everything, but as you get further to the third city, textures and the shortcuts, they're kind of not there. It does have some pretty fun areas. Right here, for example. Very fun indeed. But again, there's no use of this. There is absolutely none. I think there's one race that actually takes you through that route. It's just... You're going to take this long? Come on. Are you serious? Really? There's no way to tell me that it's here. There should be mini games online or something to show me that's here. But that's another story for another day. Now, where does this map sin as such? I think it would mostly be, again, those connecting roads. I don't need to explain that to you again. It's an issue. Bring everything closer in. It has the cool airfield, which is, as you know, the stomping grounds for the online. But when you spawn us there, What the hell have we got to do? We are in the absolute middle of the map, which is the literal worst part of the map. Cool roads over here. Absolutely no reason to go to them. City over here. Spawners in the city like you did on the bloody thing. Awesome drifting mountain roads over here. Again, it's such a trek to get to anything. So again, location of where we spawn is also very important for this map. But the one main problem with this city, I thought it was better than 2015's map just in the sheer size of it. The problem was there was no events in it. Single player or multiplayer, there was literally 1-2 events at the beginning of the game. And then after you've done that, there is absolutely... And that! Why is that a thing? There's quite a few cool areas like that. And again, you jump in the wrong place and it resets you and it just puts you off. So anyway, that pretty much sums up my sins with the Need for Speed map. Bring it all closer together. Give us more alleyways and shortcuts and slip-throughs because, look, I should be able to go over here into this thing and drift around it or something. And that brings us on to the final topic, which is the location. So obviously this game is set in a fake Vegas and the last game was set in a fake California, LA, as it were. A lot of people want Tokyo to be the next area for a Need for Speed game, but I'm going to go and say I don't want that to be a thing. Need for Speed has always been America to me. And as someone that's in Europe, it's cool to see that, right? I at some point would love to see Need for Speed maybe transition to doing other places, but I think right now they should stick to the US. There's many cool areas in the US that could very much be used. Seattle, for example, San Francisco, New York. Even redo LA again, make it different. Texas, if you want to. Texas is very flat, but still, the north of America. I don't know what's in America. Washington. I just think there's more they could do with a US map than they could with a Japan. Japan, to me, is city. And then, sure, there's mountains, but they're really far away. And sure, they could stitch it together and make it a makeshift. It's not Tokyo, but it is Tokyo. For me right now, they haven't mastered the US, which to me is the easiest thing to shift and change. And if they haven't mastered that, I don't want them to try many other places because I think we'll all just end up frustrated. Ultimately, the area itself doesn't matter. It's dependent on a bunch of different things. How the map is laid out, how they actually encourage us to do those activities, the placement of spawn points, the alleyways, the shortcuts, the little landmarks, the details. We need more of that. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. Be sure to smash like. Let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know on that because I could be completely wrong. Maybe you think completely differently and you think, no, the map should be wider apart as possible. I don't want no roads connecting. I want it to be sweeping roads and one way only. Anyway, you're already in the right place. I tell you this every single time. My guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Smash like, subscribe, and peace.